Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wonder of Faith. I'm Anthony Bush, and today we're going to be moving right along, going through the doctrine of faith here in the Wondrous Orders. So last time we talked about finances and the importance of using them for the good of the church, for the good of the faith. And we're going to shift gears now to talk about the doctrine of the passion of thought, the importance of thinking, the importance of reasoning, and why we use it and can use it in the faith to empower our faith and make our experience and our dedication to God ever stronger. So we start with the passion of thought. In order to come to the revelation that is the truth, it is necessary to think in a thorough and scholarly manner. However, there are roads of darkness within that can keep the soul from ever finding the truth. Steer clear and follow only the light. So we talked about education and the importance of academia 2 videos ago, but we're going to move more internal with this. So we're not just talking about studying, but actual thinking, when we think about our lives and we think about what we go through, how that plays a part in the overall living of the faith. Because it is important to be in contact with the self, with one's own philosophies and ideals. And by doing so, by understanding ourselves, I think it's possible to understand God a little bit better. Because He who made us has left within us kind of a signature of His own creation. And so through studying ourselves, through thinking about who we are and what we're meant to be, we can find what He wants for us and better understand He and His nature itself. So starting with number 1, never think evil thoughts, especially against another's soul. So action comes from thought first. Usually when we act, it's because whether we've thought about it ahead of time or not premeditatively, we have a personality, we have a system of responses that we are in the habit of using. And when we act according to those habits, whether we're conscious of them or not. And so if we're thinking evil things, if we're dwelling on them for too long, or if we're even infatuated with these thoughts, then it becomes a problem. And it may not show right away, but through time we can become a lesser version of ourselves, which we want to avoid. So when we think evil things, if someone does something to us that was bad, was wrong, maybe downright evil, we shouldn't wish bad on them. We should not want them dead or harmed in any way, because that's not deserving of our time or attention as faithful people. But even if you may just say it's just thought, it's very true. But as I said, thoughts can lead to action. So down the line, we may treat that person wrongly, even if we don't murder them or slap them. We can be passive aggressive. We can hurt their feelings and make them feel bad. And making them feel as bad as we are feeling is not going to make anything right, because revenge is not the way forward ever. The way forward is to find strength in what we're dealing with in our trials, and always being the person of the good and seeking the good path. Because even when it seems like it's not rewarding, it is. Not only in context of heaven, but even in today with our conscience, with being able to live with ourselves and our actions. Number 2, ponder and wonder about the glory of God, for it keeps at the center of life His image. So a wonderful thing to think about is the absolute mystery of God, the unbelievable vastness of the universe, the greatness that is our Creator. And we can never fully understand Him in the present state, because we're limited. Our brains can't process such a magnitude of greatness or excellence or perfection. But by attempting to, by feeling the awe that's inspired within ourselves, by thinking about such things, I think it brings us to a healthy state of mind. I think it strengthens the soul's ability to reach out to God and live for Him. And so it's good to take moments, maybe once a day or specific times during the week, to just sit or reminisce or think about greatness itself, about God and what He can do, what He has done, and what His plan is. Because we know the plan, salvation history is very clear. But by doing that, we bring ourselves a sense of of liveliness, a sense of optimism that perhaps we wouldn't experience otherwise. And like I said before, by thinking about that and by putting that in our daily lives or life through the week, we're bettering ourselves slowly but surely by making a habit of living in that mindset and completely understanding that we live for God and God is there all the time. Because we can easily say something, we can say we know God is omnipotent and all-loving, but do we understand what we're saying? Do we think about it and try to comprehend what those words mean? And I would say for myself, I should spend more time doing it. And I think if you were too, then it would be extra helpful if you gave it a try. So it's always good to keep Him at the forefront of the mind, and especially the unfathomable, because in mystery do we find inspiration and awe. Number 3, be cautious against new ideas, for such ideas may damage or ruin one's conviction for what is true. So by being creatures of reason that God gave us, we have kind of a gatekeeper. So when we're presented with an idea, we have the ability to not accept it right away. We can struggle with it and try to understand it in every way possible that we can, and then come to a conclusion about it. So if I think a classic example is a math equation. Like you may see a math equation and they say you'll always get this answer with this equation, and you may not believe it until you work with it and then come to comprehend its parts and pieces, and then you can accept it as true because you've realized through practice of your own that it is the truth. Well, the same goes for anything else with any philosophy or mindset that we're presented with. We don't accept it right away. We always think about it and ponder it and find the truth in it. And that goes from anything faith-related or not. We have the ability to be skeptical. And that's not a bad thing if it's not too strong of a skepticism where we don't take anything as true unless there's evidence through the senses. That, of course, doesn't work for faith-based truths. But if we at least give ourselves time to think about things that we're struggling with rationally, and then we come to a conclusion either now or down the road even, then we're doing ourselves a favor and those who we're talking to about these issues. So never take something for certain right away. We should always be able to think about it and find the truth in it. And that goes for everything the church teaches as well. The church, as I've said before, does not blindly want you to accept anything. It has its reasonings for why it holds the doctrines it does. To me, they all make sense. And I'm sure if you really think about it, they'll make sense to you as well. Number 4, remember others' ability to reason and hope that they are able to make true their purpose with such a gift. So I think sometimes we can get frustrated with people and just think that they don't understand what's going on in our lives, or they can't understand a concept because we've tried to explain it to them and we are not patient anymore and we just give up. But the fact of the matter is, no matter who it is, every human being has the ability to use reason. And we have to constantly see that exists, that ability exists. And through patience, through understanding, we can entreat that reason in another person and then help them understand our point of view. But it does take friendship, being nice, being patient, but also being thorough. We have to explain ourselves well. I know I think very quickly, but sometimes I'm not able to put into words what I'm thinking, and that's an issue. We have to be able to constantly communicate what we're thinking so that others can come to understand it. It's a two-way street. They have to work to understand, and we have to work to communicate as well. Number 5, allow your imagination to flourish so that it too can make better the world. So the imagination is one of the greatest things that God ever gave us, the gift to think of what does not yet exist and make it a reality. And that's amazing. As children, we think of unicorns or mythical beasts, and that inspires us because we think outside the box. We don't get stuck in a certain function and then move through life like it's a linear line or like it's a computer program. Imagination allows us to conceive of at least the very shadow of ideas of what God is. It allows us to create as God created in the beginning, and it allows us to keep in touch with our dreams, what we want in life, because we can think of a future we want for ourselves and the future God wants for us through the imagination. So never underestimate that gift, because everyone has imagination in one form or another, and we're all called to use it to make ourselves better and to constantly find what God wants for us. Number 6, doubt not the doctrines of the church. So I've been through this before, but I'll say it again because it is a vital point. As Catholics, if we want to truly be Catholic people, not only in name but also in action, we must accept the church's truths. This is what we're called to do. It's what we must do to be Catholic in truthfulness. But that does not mean that we are not allowed to struggle with the truths of the church. We may not accept the truth right away. Like I said, the reason takes time, and that's perfectly okay. But in the end, we have to find the truth in it and accept it. It doesn't have to be right now, but through time, through experience with the truth the church has, we come to accept them because we know that it is truth itself. Not truth with a lowercase t, but with a capital T. It is the vital ideals that we live by that will get us where we need to go. And so, no matter where you are on your faith journey, whether you're a new Catholic or you've been away for a while, regardless, the church has what's called the Catechism of the Catholic Church. It's pretty much a volume that goes to the doctrines of the church in their simplest forms, and yet the book is still about this thick. But it provides why we believe what we believe. And I think if we take time to look at it and study it little by little, because it can be a lot at once, but put time into it, put effort into it, enjoy the process, because it is enjoyable to think, to grow intellectually is amazing, and the church can provide that. It has a wonderful intellectual tradition. We're doing ourselves a favor by coming to know the church and loving her ever more through her truths. And I think you're worth that adventure. You're worth that process. So I entreat you to try it and better yourself through it. All right, number 7. Doubt not the truth and good of the church's role in the world. I think this is important. So we hear so many times how there's scandals in the church, or the church is an old-fashioned institution. You hear it in the modern media all too much. And it's true, there's scandals in the church. There's people who have failed the church. Those who said they would protect her, those who said that they would serve her, failed. But that does not mean the church herself has failed. Never. The church is protected by Jesus, who is her spouse, who promised to be with her always. And therefore, we trust in him to provide the way forward for the church, even in the modern age. So even when those who represent her, those who serve her, fail, the church remains pure, remains perfect nonetheless, and we are part of that institution. We fail her all the time when we sin, when we forget her and give in to what we want or what peer pressure forces us into. And so we have to keep in mind that the church is the beacon of hope, the beacon of light in this world that will lead us forward, that will give us what we need. And so we have to try our best to serve her and see her for what she is. And that is a guiding light. Even if those, from the very top, the Pope himself is a sinner. He's a human being. He has the scar of sin on him. But he still serves her nonetheless. And so I ask you to think of this, to think of the church not as an institution that's crumbling or one that's irrelevant to modern times, because it's not. In fact, I believe personally that it's what's keeping the world together, because it's a bastion of truth and of upholding what is true. But we have to see that and struggle for it. Sometimes it can be so hard because everyone seems to be putting her down, and we want to be part of that too because we want to belong, but that's not what we're called to do. We have to take the hard road, because the easy road is not always necessarily the right one or the correct one or the true one. And so by studying her, by taking a look at the church from history to now, from the beginning to now, and everything it's gone through, we have to see that the plan has been carried out, regardless of people who've tried to stop it from the inside and the outside. So just ponder that point of view and look at the church from an objective stance and see that it's not all lost, not all abandoned or useless. Number 8, remember that the worth of all are equal, though they may be mistaken in their beliefs. So when we argue with someone, or we're at an intellectual disconsensus, it doesn't mean the other person is less than me. And it's so easy to go from arguing on points of truth to arguing about the worth of the person, about attacking the person directly. And that does absolutely nothing for the intellectual growth for each person. We have to stick to what matters, and that is finding truth. And the moment we forget that, and the moment we go off and attack the person or say something we wish we could take back later, is the moment that the pursuit of truth is lost. And as faithful people, as people who care for everyone, as we're called to, we cannot let that happen. We have to be the example for others and pursue truth in a way that's reverent, in a way that's humane, in a way that's helpful, that's efficient. Because if we're off talking about someone's actions, or if we're worrying about the other's inability to say what they want to say or speak correctly, then we're just getting off topic and we're wasting time, or wasting our precious moments to find truth, and instead just getting bogged down in attacking the other. And that, of course, is, as Christians and Catholics, is what we're not called to do. And number 9, do not be a prisoner of depression or boredom. Instead, find ways to aid in the spread of goodness and faith. So we all go through those moments where we don't feel happy, or we feel like there's nothing left for us to do at the moment, and that happens. We're human. We all experience that. But we have to fight it nonetheless. Constantly seek a purpose, because there's always one there. This world is not perfect yet. Not everyone is in a good place. We constantly have work to do. It's just a matter of finding it and inspiring ourselves to do it. And so no matter if you're feeling down, or if you're feeling like there's nothing for you to do right now and you just want to sleep or curl up, remember this, that the moment will pass, that the emotions we feel are temporary. But the goodness that's constantly there, the true understanding that we're part of the church, that we're part of this union that wants the good of all, remember that, and allow that to bring you the joy that you should feel and that you should stay in. Every saint will tell you that it's not always a picnic. They have good times and bad times. They feel God's presence and then they don't. That's perfectly natural. It's in the dark times that our faith must be proven. Do we stay steadfast even if we don't feel like being a faithful person, or whenever it seems to be a disadvantage for us? Those are the true moments we're being called to be children of God. And it's up to us to take that role and call it our own, even when we feel the least likely, or we don't want to do it at all. So I just ask at the end of this video here that we all take time to think about these questions, about the importance of thinking for ourselves, but also thinking to find truth. And I hope that we can take those moments to really reevaluate our value systems. Even if you are Catholic and you listen to the church, we can always improve. I can improve. And so just take some time to find a way to ignite the flame again in vigor and become ever more reliant on the church and in the pursuit of defending her and being a member of her great body. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I've been Anthony Bush, and this is Wonder of Faith, and I will see you all next Friday with another video. May God be with you and bless you.